Can I change the subject?
Sure, absolutely.
Do you have any interest in baseball?
Of course. Do I have interest in baseball?
I'm about to tell a story that has to do with baseball.
Okay.
But not baseball in this country, baseball in another country.
Okay.
I was lucky enough in the 80s to go on tour with a band that went to Japan. And we went twice for a month and a half each time. So I spent a lot of time there in Japan. It was quite awesome.
Okay.
But it was made even better by the fact that I look like an American baseball player in Japan. And this guy was really popular. He was really well liked and really popular. And I had such a great time on both tours because apparently there's a resemblance between me and this guy. His name was Randy Bass. And
okay. Randy Bass. I think he played for the Minnesota Twins when he was in the major leagues. Yeah, here in the States. Yeah. He didn't have a very long career in the States, but I believe it was the Twins.
He was very popular in Japan, and he played for the Hanshin Tigers.
Yeah, it's one of their top teams over there.
Yeah, well, he did a lot of commercials, and we'd be in the subway, and there would be his picture with a razor. He was kind of like how Joe Namath was really big for a while doing all these commercials. He was such a well-loved guy, Joe Namath. We did a morning TV show in Japan. On the morning show, the crew and the personalities were laughing at how much they thought I looked like this baseball player. And after that appearance, our producer bought a Hanshin Tigers baseball cap. Okay. And he gave it to me, and he asked me if I would wear it during the shows. Here's the thing. Whenever I wore that hat, crowds of people would follow. People really did think, hey, that guy might be Randy Bass. Right?
Randy Bass.
Every place I went, Randy Bass! Randy Bass!
Did you play it up? Did you get free meals and things like that?
Well, okay, now I might have taken a Sapporo or a Kirin. I like that Kirin red.
You like Kirin, okay.
Oh, that was good stuff. Anyway, I'm looking through my drawer of ideas. And what did I find in there but one of Randy Bass's baseball cards?
Oh, cool.
I actually have his baseball cards, and I'm going to show it to you right now, so you can tell whether or not you see a resemblance between him and me.
Okay.
Here's the baseball card. I'm going to bring it close to the camera. Okay. Do you think I look like Randy Bass?
I can see it. Let me ask you, who is the card manufacturer on the back there?
Let's just read it and find out.
There's no stats on the back of it. It's supposed to be loaded up with stats on the back.
It's kind of funny the things that we notice, because what I noticed is it didn't come with a piece of gum. That's what's important to me. Well, there was one night when I was in Japan. This is after I had stopped wearing the Randy Bass hat because I didn't want the attention. We were out in Tokyo, just out on the town. On this particular night, we were on foot. The cast was a bunch of dancers and the musicians.
Okay.
It was late at night. This is the end of the night when this story takes place. And we're walking down this city street. And this is the city, right? Tokyo City. It's concrete jungle. There's a street lamp, and circling around the street lamp is some giant thing, some giant insect. I love insects. As a child, I used to have a cork board and pins, and I would mount them meticulously, all these different kinds of beetles and hornets and bees.
Okay.
And, but my true love was butterflies and moths. I love butterflies and moths.
I'm just the opposite, man. I don't like bugs at all.
I don't like them on me or around my house or anything, but
well, you're holding them and then you're putting them on a cork board. I mean, you're making contact with them.
Okay, yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, I'm looking at this thing going round and around the light. And we weren't far from the hotel. I said to the others, hey, you guys go on. I'm going to sit here and see what that is. I sat down on the street corner. It's late at night. The city was not bustling at this point. It was, it was pretty quiet. And I watched that giant thing go around and around and around and finally landed on me. And it was a Luna moth. And it was the only Luna moth I have ever seen in person in my life. I did capture it, and I held it, and I looked closely at it. And I really examined it. This moment to me was so significant. When I was a kid, the Luna moth was the most prized of all moths. I have a picture here. I'm going to show you a picture of it.
Okay.
To me, this is breathtaking.
That's a very interesting moth.
It's a very large moth. They're about 6 inches long and just spectacular in their beauty. I mean, look at that thing. And I held it in my hand, and I was an adult, and I'm holding a Luna moth. Oh, It was a beautiful moment. I was by myself. I wasn't rushed. I just really enjoyed holding and observing and watching this moth. I tell you this just to reinforce my love of butterflies and moths, but not just because they're such beautiful creatures, but because the whole idea of metamorphosis from a caterpillar to a butterfly, that is such an imaginative concept. If you saw a caterpillar, you would just never think that one day it could transform into something so completely different. And it's a great metaphor for teaching. It's a great metaphor for kids. Hey, you might be a caterpillar now, but just wait. Just wait. It's a great metaphor.
Okay.
You can buy these butterfly kits where you raise a butterfly in your home. And these butterfly kits usually use a butterfly called an American lady butterfly. I want to show you a few butterflies and their larvae. So here's an American lady butterfly. It's a small butterfly. It's about the size of a 50-cent piece. You can order these on Amazon. They send you this little jar of caterpillars. There's like 6 of them in there. And the food is already in there. You never even have to open the jar. You just watch them eat, and they grow every day. And then eventually they turn into a chrysalis. Then you put them in this netting cage or this box, whichever version you get.
So it's pronounced chrysalis.
Chrysalis.
I've always pronounced it wrong, I guess.
I'm just out of curiosity. How did you pronounce it?
Chrysalis.
Oh, it looks like chrysalis. You could go for that. I've always heard chrysalis, but you know what? I would back you on chrysalis because.
But you're the bug expert, man.
I'm the etymologist, not the entomologist. This is a very common butterfly. This is one that you've probably seen before. It's called a tiger swallowtail.
Wait, are those eyes there?
Well, this is the back end of the caterpillar, and it's just a defense mechanism.
Interesting.
Michigan was the greatest place to be a kid. We lived near a huge field, and in that field, I found so much nature. We had garter snakes and frogs and salamanders and snapping turtles, and there were streams with fish and leopard frogs and bullfrogs and toads and pollywogs, and it's just really great stuff. These are tiny. These are about the size of a dime, and it's called a skipper. Its larva looks like a tiny little corn on the cob.
It does look like a little tiny corn on the cob.
Okay, the morning cloak. This is a very difficult butterfly to catch because it flies in a zigzag pattern. They have these out here too. Really awesome to think that this spiny, horrible caterpillar is going to turn into this gorgeous butterfly. This one was far more popular to me as a caterpillar than it was as the moth it turned into. Did you ever catch one of these?
Me? No.
We used to call these woolly bears. These caterpillars were everywhere. Woolly bear caterpillars.
Woolly bears, okay.
May I present to you now the Cecropia moth. There's a couple of them, actually. Look at those gorgeous.
Look at that.
Okay, so one time my family was on vacation. You had a room like a hotel room. I was maybe, 6 or 7 years old.
Okay.
We were in the pool, and I noticed on top of the building, at the top of the wall, was a gigantic moth. It was just hanging to the wall at the very top of the wall. And I went to my dad. I said, "Dad, look at that gigantic moth." All the people, with their families at the pool were all looking at this moth that was just sitting way up there. I couldn't take my eyes off it. Everybody else is like, "Yeah, great, Gary. Nice." The day ended. We went to bed. The next morning, I could not get that moth out of my mind. I ran out the next morning to see if it was still there, and it was low enough for me to catch.
Oh, okay.
And I caught it. It was a Cecropia moth. This was one of the greatest early stories of acquisition. And it happened to be one of these fantastic Cecropia moths.
Okay.
I mounted insects. Right? I had already been doing that. My father told me if you put lighter fluid on cotton balls in the Cool Whip container with the moth, that it will kill the moth quickly and humanely, and then you can mount the moth. This began my mounting of butterflies. And soon, now that I had this killing jar, which is what we called it affectionately, now, all the butterflies that I would bring home from the field, they would go into the killing jar, and my specimens were way better. And so my walls were covered with butterflies. Anyway, let me show you the larva of that amazing Cecropia moth. Look at this thing. Isn't that
That's kind of spiny too, yeah.
So I'm in a toy store, and I'm probably 35 years old.
Okay.
And I get all excited because in the toy store they had rubber caterpillars of Cecropia moths. I'll tell you right now, I bought it. Who else would buy such a thing? When I was digging around the drawer of memories, I found it. That's what all of this is leading up to. This is my rubber larva of a Cecropia moth. Gotcha. So there it is. That's what that is. If you find this in my collection of things, it's the larva of a Cecropia moth.
You were really into those things, aren't you?
I was so into that. Do you know about monarch butterflies?
I mean, I've seen them before, you know.
Billions of these monarch butterflies migrate from the States down to Mexico and then back to the States and then down to, and it's the same spots. They go from this spot up to that spot. I mean, it takes generations. Like they lose members along the way and new ones are born along the way and they just continue this migration. I mean,
is it like birds flying south for the winter or something
exactly.
like that?
You know, I do a single act. In the single act, I play all kinds of different instruments and I also play Jewish music. I've worked the penny whistle into Jewish tunes as well. And there's this one Jewish song that I do in my show.
Okay.
And I have always thought that this song sounded just like a music track you would hear under a nature video where they're talking.
Oh, like National Geographic or Animal Planet or something like that.
Yeah. Can I play the song? And since you have such a mellifluous voice, I wonder if you would provide a voiceover about monarch butterflies.
Do you have some text that I might be able to read?
I actually do.
Okay. Oh, there it is. Okay.
I think this will be pretty funny. I've always thought the English accent makes everything sound more true.
I'll come up with an appropriate accent. I think I've seen enough of these.
Okay, so this song is called Ma Navu. It's just the kind of song you would hear in a nature documentary.
Do you have a picture of a monarch butterfly or something we can put up?
I'm so glad you asked.
Okay.
I have even better than a picture.
When do you want me to come in? Do you want
Just feel it. You've seen enough of these shows.
Let me wet my whistle?
And I'll wet my whistle.
Each fall, northeastern monarchs undertake an epic migration south, where the entire population winters in a relatively small patch of forest in south-central Mexico. In spring, they move north, laying eggs and dying as they go. The monarchs you see this summer in northern Maine could be the fourth-generation offspring of the monarch that flew south to Mexico last fall. All of this suggests that there must be a genetic component to the migration, since no individual butterfly makes the journey twice.
Well done. Oh, that was really funny.
Oh, that was kind of funny.
That was really funny.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.